Alright, so what we have here is a 4-player setup, and I'll just walk through the setup really quick and then we'll talk about gameplay. So, to start off the game, there are these trophies. That's how we'll refer to them. There's these trophies that are laid out, and there are 11 of them. The trophies comes in sets of 2, except for the last one. So the first 2 are both worth 2 million, and then 4 million, 6 million, 8 million, 10 million, and the last one is worth 12 million here. Now, the idea of the game is for players to use their set of characters here to win as many of these as possible, and then they add up the value of all of those trophies that they win. So the way that works is player 1, and all players start with one of each of the characters, so numbers 1 through 13. And they can use these however they want on these trophies. So on each trophy they can lay up to 2 cards. So we start with trophy number 1 down here, that's worth 2 million. And I'm not too worried about that, so let's say I want to put down my 3 and my 4. So like I said, I can play up to 2 cards. So I would place them down like so, and then the next player would have a chance to also play on that. Now you don't have to play on each of these, so as this player I would see that they put down 2, and I would probably say to myself, well, I don't want to waste 2 cards on that, so I'm going to say pass, and I'm not going to put any cards down. If everyone else also wants to pass, they certainly can, but let's say for the sake that player number 4 decides to put down a card as well. So they put it down like that. Now, after everyone's had a chance to play on card number 1 here, then we move on to card number 2, and the next player, player number 2, is the first one to have the opportunity to play on that card. So you work through all of the trophies like that, and then once all of the trophies have been played on, any leftover cards are then thrown in the discard pile. So you have to use all of your cards or you lose them. And like I said, you can play either no cards and say pass, or you can play 1 card on each, or you can put 2 cards on some of them. So you have some flexibility with how you play your cards. And like I said, once all of the trophies have been played on like this, then players turn their cards over and they compare the value of the cards. So player number 1 had 3 and 4 as their value, and player number 4 put down their 8. So player number 4 would take everything in the stack here. So that includes the cards that player number 1 put down, as well as the trophy. So they got 2 million, and they also got these 3 characters, which they can then use to build their deck for the next round. So you steal other people's characters, as well as you take the points for that trophy. So once all of these have been dealt with in that way, then you keep track of your points. So you add up how many million you got, and then all of the trophies come back out, except for round 2, you take away the lowest trophy. So there's 1 less. And now characters, or players, look at the characters they have available to them, and they can pick 1 character for each trophy that's out here. So you're going to have to discard some of your characters probably. So for example, right now there's now 10 trophies out there, so I can have 10 cards in my hand, not the 13 that I started with. And those can be any of the 10 that I have available to me. If I don't have 10 cards in my hand, then I will draw from the discard pile. So other players are going to be discarding some cards because they have more than 10, and I would then draw from that same pile. So that's a brief overview of how to play Diamond Heist. So obviously the winner is whoever has the most after all of these rounds. And that's the general gameplay here. Obviously, on some of the cards, there's special powers that come into play as well, and I'll run over those really quick right now. So for the Gentleman Thief, even if the Gentleman Thief is quote unquote captured, so his value is less than the combined value of the person who won that trophy, he gets to keep this card. So the Gentleman Thief is never stolen from you. In a sense, that is your player in this game. And then the next special power is the Munitions Expert. So if the Munitions Expert is ever on a trophy and his team loses, he doesn't take that card, then he blows up everyone that's there. It's kind of a kamikaze safety procedure. So that takes all of the cards that were played on this trophy and puts them in the discard pile, and it also removes that trophy from the game. So there could be a lot less trophies round 2 than just one less. If there is a trophy that's discarded because of the Munitions Expert, then you don't need to take one away for that round. The next special ability is the Driver. If the Driver is part of a losing team, the Driver and any other card that you play with it is not captured. And that's only when they're part of the losing team. So if I had a 1 and a 2 out there and someone else played their 4, I would get to keep both my cards still. And finally, the Pilferer, number 1. If the Pilferer is ever played against someone else's Gentleman Thief, so let's say player number 1 played that out here and player number 2 played that, and they were the only 2 that played, the Pilferer negates the power of the Gentleman Thief. So that would essentially count as 0, and the Pilferer would end up winning that trophy. So those are the special powers of the cards. One other thing to note is if there's ever a tie in the value, then everything there is destroyed as well and sent to the discard pile. So it's kind of like the Munitions Expert. If everyone's the same value and they kind of all just fight to the death, and you don't get those cards back. So that's kind of an overview. If I've left anything out or if you have any other follow-up questions, I'm happy to answer those for you. And we'll talk to you soon.